Hey everybody, hope you are enjoying your lunch. So it's my privilege and honor to introduce Maria Bamford, a very well-known and wonderful stand-up comic who has identified as having bipolar illness. People putting a face on mental illness, especially well-known and famous people like Maria, really move the ball forward on stigma. And also as a personal story, when I first contacted Maria, she said she had seen my TED and thought it was really cool. She said in parentheses, and you have great comedic timing. And coming from a comedian, that was really, really cool. So thank you. We're so honored and delighted to have Maria here with us.
We'll do a quick dance. Is it okay if I take one of these? Yes, this one works too. I'm just going to walk around like in my regular job. Thank you so much for having me. I was just able to hear the last hour, so I wasn't able to wake up in time. I am on Seroquel, so can't do it. I'm not going to do stand-up just because comedy doesn't always go well with everyone. It's very subjective, like art, beauty, etc. So I'll just tell you my story. Hopefully, if that's not of any interest, there's plenty of courtyard. I just, and also up front as a caveat, however it's said, not sure. I went to a state school. I grew up in an upper middle class family. I am white, cisgendered. I'm a dinosaur sinking into the tar. I don't know what I'm talking about. I may be not woke. So please tell me what books I need to read after this talk. I know I do not have a lot of experiences, so just my own. So when I was 10 years old, I began what I now know are symptoms of, some sort of bipolar or, something on the spectrum. I had intrusive thoughts, OCD. I had a fear that I was going to kill my friends, family, also act out sexually against my family and friends. So I could not spend any time with others. Really limits your day. And I didn't want to make eye contact with other people. I began to develop sort of rituals of squeezing my fists and just spending a lot of time alone, obsessively. Also started having suicidal ideation, wanting to die, feeling like life was not good, or just wanting some sort of relief. My parents, because I was not able to sleep at night, which is probably a little bit of hypomania. I've never had experienced psychosis. Also, I do have bipolar light. I've been diagnosed with bipolar 2, FYI. Also, put that out there. My parents were able to get me a therapist who was a religious therapist, always interesting, and for the most time I just slept in her couch, and that was okay. I developed then eating disorder and continued to feel pretty terrible up until the age of 21. Went through I called a suicide hotline. I joined a 12-step group to get help. And actually, free resources are some of the most helpful resources I found as a person with mental illness. 12-step groups, although I am an atheist, they're free. They are free. And they can't reject you. I can go in there with drunk and sit on a birthday cake and eat the cake out of my pants, and everybody's got to let me stay. So I also just want to say, I once did a stand-up set for, it's called Psychotherapy Today, that magazine, and I bombed so hard because I at the time I was doing a half hour on suicide, and I think everyone was taking it a lot more seriously than I meant it, and although we should all take it seriously. But I've gotten, tons of help as a result of where I grew up. I grew up in Minnesota. My mom was a therapist, but there's still some stigma around needing the help. I got on antidepressants as a result of going through a treatment program for depression, and it was hard to get that treatment, even though we did have insurance. A friend of the family called me from when I was going to college and said, "You looked great at Christmas," which I think everybody can relate to. Here was where you say, "Well, it doesn't matter what I look like on the outside." I'm not sure if I'm getting to any point here. It's okay. I'm just going by the what it was like, what happened, what it's like now. So I was on Prozac for about 20 years, and was able to keep it together. Stand-up is a perfect job for someone with mental health issues. You only have to work 2 hours a night. A lot of adrenaline, a lot of oxytocin rushes. It is. I cannot recommend it enough if you're looking for something to get your heart racing, and so. I did that throughout my lifetime. I also joined about 3 other 12-step groups because I didn't know about any community. I did get a 4-year college degree. I managed to finish my degree at the University of Minnesota, but I did not know how to have a job, to show up to a job, to stay at a job. Even though I had my father as a physician and my mom was a therapist, I just wasn't sure how to. I didn't have the self-esteem I just didn't have the mentorship or the peer group around me to say, yeah, you get to the job on time, then you stay the whole day. You stay for the whole thing. And for some reason that was odd to me, and so I've gotten into a few of the programs I've been in for 12-Step, Overeaters Anonymous, Debtors Anonymous, Al-Anon. I go to Al-Anon because I considered show business, much like the internet, to be like a raving drunk alcoholic who sometimes the alcoholic is, "You're the best. You're my best friend. You're the best friend. You're so beautiful. You're so talented." And then the next day they're like, "The hot dogs are for principal talent only." Anyways, sometimes they're not very nice. So when I was turned 39, 40, and I had been able to keep it together as much as I could. I functional, could work as a stand-up. I did have suicidal thoughts all the time. Just it was sort of a relief for me to think about it, and I was able to do fairly high-functioning jobs. I ended up getting, with the help of the Debtors Anonymous program, I got a job as a secretary, and I worked there while doing stand-up at night. At a certain point, I had success, and I got a giant ad campaign for the Target company. Anyways, I was the Christmas lady or whatever, which is sort of like portraying somebody who's manic. That led to me going into a manic spiral. I started getting very obsessed. My obsessions lead to ethical obsessions of like, is this a good thing? Am I a good person? Is this a thing? So I went to go see a priest. I just wrote the New York Times ethicist. Things got a little bizarre about whether I should have the job because Target, I don't know if you know this, they are just like Walmart. They underpay their employees, they make everyone part-time so you can't get benefits, and they manufacture everything overseas, which has little oversight for employment or environmental protection. So, but that also is none of my business. Who cares? Or don't take the job, Maria. But that I started to feel worse and worse, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, you're talking too fast, having a whole lot of shit ideas, and so let's take you to the hospital." So I went into Las Encinas. I don't know if you're familiar. Yes. One of my my things I always tell, if anybody asks me, which is I don't know how often, but get yourself that shitty ass help. Whatever's out there, you go get it. Like don't wait for the fancy thing. Don't wait for the right. LA is the kingdom of people saying, there's this really great guy. Unfortunately, he only sees people from 2 to 3 p.m. in Ojai, and you've got to helicopter in and then take a water slide into his. Get that shitty ass help. Whoever's available, call the operator. I've called the operator. I've talked to an operator on the phone. And anybody will do in a pinch. And I went to LA County for help, which was that was very humbling in that it's a 8-hour wait, and then you get your prescription, which I was so grateful for, and then I could overhear because they have those they're just cubicles, so you can overhear what their diagnosis is, and they're like, "I think we need to hospitalize her," and I was like, "Oh, put on the game face. I'm good, and so funny. I ended up about 2 years of going in and out of the hospital. I went to the one other closest to me was Glendale Adventist. I do have insurance through the Screen Actors Guild, so all of this was for the most part free. But I have been to some crazy. It's had some not helpful healthcare, and that can feel devastating. It also can be energizing. I went to a free clinic, and a woman who had just gotten her master's, and I said, "Well, I'm about to live in my car," and she said, "What are you gonna do?" I'm like, "I'm fine." You know what? Like, there can be something about incompetence that can energize you. So. I wish that all mental health facilities look like this. Wow. Aesthetics are a huge part of feeling good, and that I think is always surprising how much a psychiatric facility can feel like a film director came in and said, "Okay, we need 3 puzzles, most of the puzzle pieces missing. Okay, I want to have the big screen TV, highest volume, playing Ultimate Fighting Championships, lose the remote." I really, I know people, and the problem is it being underfunded, and there's plenty of people working super hard doing it, but so got hospitalized 3 times. I finally was willing to go on a mood stabilizer. Part of the reason I wasn't stable was because it was my own lack of willingness to go on something that I considered I would think I was out of control. And but when I did, and I also didn't like the side effects. Put on some weight. I also have this delightful tremor. But it turns out weakness is now the brand, and I don't want to quash this cash cow. That's the weirdest thing is that after getting more stable and was able to do a TV show about the experience. Which is not in most people's wheelhouse, and I get Bipolar Magazine, and that is the most frequent letter to Bipolar Magazine. Is like, "Hey, can we have less celebrities on the cover? Can we just have people who are just trying to make it day to day and having real jobs?" So as a result of getting more stable, and I think that was also something I really had a hard time with. I went through an outpatient treatment program twice, or just for post-hospitalization, and there wasn't any hope within the hospital of going back to work. Like there wasn't any. There was this insane book called the Feeling Good Handbook by Dr. Burns. It's all cognitive behavioral fill in the blank. Oh my God. If you were just getting on a new med, I don't know how anybody's filling that shit out. Anyways, it was, so I was able to, and also with the help of a lot of support from 12-step groups and stuff like that, I was able to do this TV show, and the most funny thing I think about it was that the story was all about somebody losing their mind, me. And I said, hey, if this could happen, like I could, I was at work, before I was first hospitalized, I was at work in Chicago, and I was on a new medication, and I found myself, I was on Lamictal, and I was unable to think or talk right before a show, so I had to call my manager, and I was crying, and I had somehow cut myself and lost all my identification while wandering the streets of Chicago. And my manager wasn't too worried. He said, I've got a couple of clients who are bipolar. Just call me when you're out. And, I wasn't able to do my job. So I told the people that a number of times, like, hey, I can't work over 16 hours, and I need to have at least a 12-hour turnaround between the next day's shooting. And I was an executive producer on the show, my name on the show. Every single day I had to tell them again, I gotta go. And every single day, we really need to get a couple shots. I mean, it was really bizarre when I think about it. So anyways, so that's been, and I was able to finally have a relationship that lasted over a year when I got on some good meds, and that was great. And what it's like now, I don't want to say that I've lowered my expectations for my life or anything like that, but I do have to choose. Like, I can't go on a long tour. I'm not touring internationally anymore. There's certain things where I go, I'm going to feel terrible, and and social media, somebody was talking about that, like how that creates sort of a natural mania in everyone, the Twitter feeds and all that stuff. So, what I'm like today, I have not had any suicidal ideation since I got on the meds, 2011, and haven't had any. Thank you very much. Thank you, Depakote, 750 milligrams, Seroquel, 50 milligrams, 40 milligrams of Prozac. Thank you. And Screen Actors Guild union membership. Those are the things that helped. I'm all down for exercise and meditation and belief in something, but for me, the answer has been meds, all the way. And I guess I'm trying to think if I have anything else to say. If I have any, just that. My own job, part of being open has become a part of the job, is to no longer hiding it. So nobody's surprised that my hand's shaking, and and if I can't remember something, or if I, that it's not a big deal. But I don't know. Show business is very volatile, so I don't. I often try to sign up with my temp agency once every 3 years, just to kind of keep a hand in, make sure I'm still just as bad at Outlook as I always was, and because I think that feeling of usefulness in life is so important, to feel like I'm needed, and and whether I continue in this show business type of a job, which I think attracts a lot of people with mental illness, because it is a rush of ideas, and it acts very much like mania and depression. It's very, and I get a little scared for. Well, I'm sure that's what I was going through a lot of time. Like, I'm gonna be a star. I'm gonna be something in the firmament. I can't even explain what it is, but it's gonna involve light. And, so that these vague dreams are very much like mania. So, but now I know it's a job, and sometimes I don't want to show up for it. I know it's a job because sometimes I don't want to go. Let me see. I think the arts are so important. I love stand-up because it is a way to say exactly what I want, which a lot of times, especially with somebody with mental health issues, I don't know if you've ever been in a psychiatric facility as a patient, but people aren't taking you that seriously, especially when you're writing things really small in a circle to tell them what the issue is with their care and treatment of you. But you should still listen. Take a listen. So that's been a great outlet for me. Stand up also free to do in Los Angeles, anywhere. Open mics are some of the best group therapy, which much tighter shares, much more hilarious, and I'll just I find a lot of joy in sharing about dark things. I have a joke, and it may not go over well here. Feel free to feel your own feelings. But I've had friends and family die of suicide, which is awful. And but I was at a funeral for a comedian who had died of suicide. Wait for it. And I always get mad. I don't know. I've called a suicide hotline many times, and it has helped me. And it's preventative, obviously. But I always get kind of irritable when I see an obituary for someone who's died of suicide, and then they have the suicide hotline right after. Like, it always feels just like you don't put, like, if somebody drowned, you don't put an ad for a sailboat at the bottom. Like, it just seems so. Anyways, I was at the funeral for a comedian who died of suicide. I overheard someone saying after the service,
It's just the single most selfish thing he could have done. I know, he has 2 kids and his wife. Ugh, gorgeous.
and I thought, hey, you know what? I think the single most selfish thing you can do, I think blaming someone for their own death at their funeral, I think that is a hold up. No. Writing down the premise for this joke at the funeral for the comedian, that is truly the single most selfish thing you can do. He had children, and don't forget to mention how pretty his wife is. Let us never forget how attractive all of us are. So important, especially now. Let me see. Is that all I have to? Yeah, just if anybody has any questions. I'm not sure if I have. Okay, sorry. I feel so terrible that it wasn't what I'd hoped. Does anybody have any questions? No worries if not. Hello!
Hi, my name is Rudy Caceres, and you talk a lot about intrusive thoughts. And usually when you talk about it, like on talk shows, stand-up act, you get a lot of laughter, but it's a very serious issue that can lead to suicide.
Yes.
I want to know how you specifically manage that.
Yes. Before I was able to talk about that, I got some serious help. I went to the cognitive behavioral therapy group in Glendale, Dr. Rodney Boone. Anyways, he and learned more about what it is, and that really helped me able to talk about it. But it is when you have super creepy thoughts, it's very power. You know, you don't want to talk about it to freak anybody out. Because I did tell a few therapists, and they're like, and rightly or wrongly, they're like, I need to tell somebody about this. And I'm like, no, the thing, I have never done it. I mean, and not that that's not, you know, that's a legitimate issue too, if you are acting out on something, but and that should be able to be talked about. But anyway, so what I did is, I went to a cognitive behavioral therapist who was expensive. And he did some exercises with me, but I think that the laughter part is the recognition that we all have unwanted thoughts. You know, like there's a comedian who says, "Do you ever look at your dog and sometimes go, God, he's sexy?" Like, you know, just like, what, hey, you know, like, oh, I didn't mean to think that. And somebody who just has a fairly regular mind will just go, oh yeah, that's. But somebody who has an OCD has the trick of the thing, the imp of the mind, which is a good book to read. Imp of the mind. You'll start going, oh, I thought my dog's sexy. I'm probably not safe around my dog. I should probably let my dog go. I should adopt my dog, because the thing is oh no, I've thought about it again. I didn't mean to think about it again, and I did. Oh, I got to do something to stop myself from thinking it. You know, like but education really helped me, and getting some support from somebody who is very bored by a professional who is bored who is just like, okay, so every time you eat a baby carrot, you're worried you're eating the genitalia of Christ. Okay, all right. So, well, put that on a recorder and then, just say it over and over again. And you know, when somebody's a mental health professional, they're bored, and you're like, oh, you know, clearly you've heard a lot worse than what I'm giving you. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, it does.
I'm sorry I made you stand there so long.
I have the same issue.
Awesome! High five!
There it is. So no, I'm schizophrenic.
Oh yes. Oh
Yeah,
yes. No, and I did hear you. I did hear you speaking. It's awesome.
It's good. So I just wanted to see if you're interested in running a comedy workshop.
Sure. I would be.
Great.
I would be. Again, energy levels. I have to be honest. So may I
Not
take a
16
day
hours.
to think? May I take a day to think about that offer? Because I love you asking in public. It's very.
I know. I know.
Nice.
What a jackass,
nice. Huh? Witnesses. I hear
Dave
that.
forced me.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Look at the beard.
That's
Sorry.
what's great. The only thing is it on the west side?
We don't.
Be on any side.
Yeah,
Any side?
Yeah, we're.
Okay,
You just
I'm in
pick a side.
Altadena, and it's become an issue where I can do it. 'Cause there's a coffee shop in my neighborhood, and there's a nice outdoor space in the back. I would love to do it
We
there.
can do it. Oh, that'd be great.
Oh my God, it's
Don't you
already
have
happening.
a bench?
Huh?
Don't you have like a bench?
Our
got rid of
last
it?
house, we had a bench, and then a frat house moved in right next door. Occidental, boo. And some gentlemen who are dealing with their own health issues were doing shots and pairing beer pong on the lawn all night. So we had to move. We moved to Altadena, where it is quiet. And
that's a big move.
and I don't. Yeah. So.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm done.
Oh yes. Oh. That's good. Oh, I like that. It's so good. And I always it's good if these kinds of things are done publicly, because I always like to joke that I'm an atheist, but I'm ethically competitive. Yeah, my husband and I found out that most religious people give 10% of their income away to charity, so we're giving 11. We don't even fucking believe in heaven, but we're going! So, well, I have here, because you're with the Painted Rain, yeah, and I already got the info. I just tweeted it out while you were talking, speaking of social media, and but I thought it was just on the west side, so, Okay, all right, awesome. Yeah, I just worry about my ability to drive long distances. My willingness is also a mental health issue. Yes, madam.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Another hero of mine. I wanted to say, you're working in a field, in addition to the mental health field, where it's one of the only places where you can actually come out as having mental illness, working. And so, is there anything you can't do on the stand-up comedy stage? Is there something that you can do wrong? What would you say as a stand-up comedian that you can actually do wrong?
I don't think so. I do totally agree that there is not enough people with schizoaffective or schizophrenia represented. That also, in your generic comedy club nationwide, there's a problem with representation altogether. Mm-hmm. Like, it is mostly dudes and then mostly white dudes. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's a dying art, the comedy club, so maybe that isn't going to be as, because now there are more festivals which have larger representation of different experiences, but I think that's really exciting. I think I hope that there's going to be somebody with schizoaffective disorder who can be more public. I've seen comics regionally who have schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder and who are doing well, but I've never seen somebody nationally doing it, which I think would be wonderful.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Anyways, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm answering questions right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So much. Oh, yes, sir.
First, I wanted to say you were the best Sue Storm.
Oh, that's very kind. That's very kind.
Second, I work with a lot of people who are very talented and they're going through some mental health struggles, but they don't quite feel comfortable yet sharing their talent. I wondered if you have any words of advice for them?
Oh, yeah. You just got to do it, and do it poorly. Do it very poorly over and over and over again. Then do it again, and then do it again, and then go, what is it I should do? And then somebody goes, hey, why don't you do it again? And then you do it again. It's one of those things. I always wish somebody could tell me a magic thing, like, how is it? A friend of mine was friends with Jonathan Winters, who was a famous comic from the 60s, who he was out with his mental health. He did a memorable speech, I believe, at an award ceremony where he said, "I'm out." And he had just been in a facility for about 8 months when they used to just treat everything with a bottle of sedatives, Thorazine. Yeah, exactly. So, but he said to me, "You got a good shrink? Well, you just keep going," which is true. Not completely inspiring, but also very true.
I have a question.
Yes.
I love your comedy. I've watched your TV show, and so your comedy is so personal and so honest. What do you do on those days when you're booked for a show, but you really don't feel like telling your story and talking about it?
What do you do when you've got to go to work?
Fake it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you just go to work. But there are those days where you go. I called my manager and said, "Hey, I got to take a mental health day because and for him it may be more of a loaded, but it's true. Like, everybody needs to take a day off or a week. But this job allows for that. I understand it. I am in a place of privilege with that. So, yeah. So, but yeah, it's just a job. That is the one thing I remember about show business, is that it's a job. It's not always something I want to do. Not that it isn't super fun. Is it good? Good. Okay. Thank you so much.